Welcome back to regular programming. Now it's time for the super fun happy horror hour with your hosts, Adam and Mike.
Welcome back to the show, fine folks. And if you've read the label, we are doing The Hills Have Eyes this fortnight, 1977 original and the remake from 2006. Mr. Horror, Mr. Beyond, welcome to your own show. Good
So
to see you
good to be
again.
here.
Good to see you
Yeah.
again.
Mikasa Sukasa,
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that you mentioned, if you've read the label, you know what we're talking about. And the movies that we're talking about, there's cast members that maybe couldn't read the label. Like some of these
Yes.
characters
Well,
may not have been able to read the label.
yes. Or
But
the
no.
room. Or the
Well, yeah,
desert.
definitely couldn't have read The Room or The
Oh, the
Caravan or whatever else.
caravan.
Um,
The
you know,
trailer.
what a movie, both of them. But obviously, probably safe to start with 77 first.
Yeah, we'll get stuck in. We'll start the stopwatch in 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
1977, Hills Have Eyes, directed by Wes Craven. Starring who? Dee Wallace, for one thing.
Yeah,
We all should know Dee Wallace.
We definitely have Dee Wallace, and how stunning Dee Wallace is in that movie as well.
I love Dee Wallace, man. I actually because obviously I know her from my childhood and seen her in E.T. and oh God, now I'm blanking as I'm starting to talk about it. Cujo. Yeah, this obviously I didn't realize she was in this one. I was like, oh, wicked. Dee Wallace, she's in The Frighteners, The Howling, Lords of Salem, which haven't, and Critters. Like, oh man, she's a delight. But she's not in No, it's not her in Poltergeist.
No.
But yeah, man, Dee Wallace is a bona fide legend. I did hear she did a podcast with The Spiel. There's a podcast called The Spiel. It's basically about all Steven Spielberg films, and she guested on it, and she was a delight, just a lovely person. What else we got in this one? I don't really recognize a lot of other names. You probably would more than me.
No, not too many. Like
Robert Houston sounds familiar.
Yeah, and I mean you've got some that have done other things, but especially back in that sort of time. So, like John Stedman's known for being in like the Burt Reynolds version of the Longest Yard. But obviously that's a very niche thing. Of you don't necessarily know if anyone is watching that. I think he must have been like pretty good friends with Burt Reynolds, like just seemed to rock up in a bunch of his movies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then like you said, you've got Robert Houston who didn't really do a whole lot.
No, he didn't do a lot.
But I think sometimes that's a good thing because that way you get a if you can sort of have a solid filmography behind you, then great. That's
yeah.
Just
you
it
could be
doesn't
considered
matter
a master.
Yeah. Shout out to Uncle Wayno, everyone's favorite uncle. On that, but yeah, it's true. But I think what I liked a lot about
Before you get into that, just I think we should start doing before we get into our thoughts. People may not have seen these films, especially the older ones. So I just want to say, like, this is just the log line. It says, taking an ill-advised detour en route to California, the Carter family soon run into trouble when their RV breaks down in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the desert. Stranded, they find themselves at the mercy of monstrous cannibals lurking in the surrounding hills. And that's an important point, that these are cannibals lurking in the surrounding hills. And when we get the 2006 version, we'll get to why that's important. Sorry, you liked. I just think it's important that we tell people who may not have seen the film what they're about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely something I liked about this movie was just that I think every character, at least of the good guys, were relatively likable. There wasn't anyone that I was really, Bobby was a bit of a, like a bit of a dick and like had a bit of a
Mm.
whinge and stuff like that. But I mean, look, I think it's safe to say that the best cast members in the entire movie, Beauty and Beast.
Yes. Yeah. I did. One of my notes is that these dogs play a much bigger part than I was
Yeah,
expecting. They're actually quite prominent. And I love that you've talked about the characters, because one of my other notes is that the 70s at least gave us characters to root for. Modern horror, especially, well, these remake horrors between 2000 2010, a lot of those don't do that. Um, Not that I'm saying the '06, I'm projecting towards '06 already, because that's not true for that version. But yeah, I like that you mentioned that, because that's an important point.
it's and that sort of brings me to like a thought that I only just had, which is, um, back then, like if I think of other movies,
Mm,
of like the classics and the originals, a lot of the time they had like relatively likable casts,
yeah,
like where I go,
they,
okay,
yeah. Sorry, no, finish that thought.
yeah, and so it's just like I go, I'm kind of rooting for these people because,
Mm, mm,
I go, these seem like nice people and all this sort of stuff. Maybe you get one or two dickhead like cast members that you meant to not like.
yep.
Um, but then it seems, and we'll probably touch on it a bit during the discussion about the remake. But a lot of the,
Mm,
I think, horror movies, modern horror movies, make it that you don't like the cast because technically we're always like rooting for gore. We always
yeah,
want the
yeah.
demise of someone. And because
Mm,
we're, I guess, like bloodthirsty and trying to get that information,
yeah.
and get that sort of um vantage point almost of seeing these people die without feeling guilty, they
It's
make
the
them
dopamine rush.
unlikable.
And this is, and that's a really good point. Just to your point on that, because I've also noted, and one thing that Hollywood has has forgotten to do, or has largely forgotten to do, in a really industrial strength, amnesia, is that they don't focus on what the two most important things in filmmaking, and the two important the two most important things that I adore about films are characters and world
Mm,
building. And looking at, and Wes Craven also wrote this, so he wrote and directed it, and he was always great at building worlds and creating characters, even with
yeah.
some of his other schlockier and lesser known stuff. People Under the Stairs is great at building character and building world and vibe and tone. And that's what this one does as well. It's a completely different tone to those darker movies, because this is set in blazing sunlight all the time. Daytime, as we've said before on previous episodes, daytime scary is the hardest scary to achieve. There is nighttime scares in this, but that big desert open nowhere to run
Mm,
type of setting is quite it's quite daunting when you watch it, especially some of those long shots that he does. Like, some of his directing choices in this are great at setting that tone. um Even I did note also he does some extreme close-ups in the action parts, and some
yeah.
really fantastic editing of those, even though the production values obviously are a bit on the cheaper side, but that's to be expected in those. This guy was making one of his first films. I'm not sure if it is his first, but your budget's not going to be as big. And he's done an amazing job in creating a movie that is actually scary on the budget that he is working with. Um, yeah, and I really trailed off from the point I was making about character and world building and how it's been forgotten. I don't think that is true for 2006, and I'll talk about that there, because Wes actually produced the 2006 version, and you can sense that in there.
Mm,
Yeah, I think I'll talk about that a bit more in my notes when we talk about '06. Actually. Yeah, I've gone on enough.
yeah.
Your turn.
Oh, it's just more like it comes down to, I think even back then, Wes knew what people would be looking for and
Mm,
what he could do to, I guess, divert those expectations during, especially like a first watch of it. So, for instance,
mm,
he very much made the environment its own character. you know, the
Yeah.
deserts around, because
Yep.
you mentioned the long shots that have
Mm.
done. There were times that obviously there's a long shot and it's showing nothing. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing happening. It's
Except
just a
the
land.
vastness of
Yeah.
their terror,
Um,
of their
but then
predicament.
other times you would see something, or you know, they may show it would cut to the bad guys and not necessarily show their location, but show that they're, you know, heading in their direction, and then
Mm.
cut to a vast sprawling like landscape shot where you all that it does is, one, you're either like sort of squinting to try and see if you can see the characters,
Yeah.
or you're left there going, this is a vastness that those bad guys are in. Like they could be anywhere there. And I think it succeeds in building like anxiety, just because
Definitely.
like you get this like desolate, isolated sort of area
Yeah.
where basically you know, they say like in space no one can hear you scream, but also out
Yeah.
in the desert
Mm.
they're not going to hear you either.
Well, only the local rubes, but yeah.
Yeah, and we see how helpful they can be at times. So um it's very much um got the vibe of, you've got a family uh of the cannibals who know the area like the back of their hand,
Mm.
and you got
Yeah.
people that potentially, at least it gives off the vibe that they've never been there before. They're
Yeah.
only passing through. Um, and wouldn't that be scary? Like, imagine you're traveling, even if you never saw someone. So let's just say the events of this movie never happened, or you
Hmm.
heard a dog bark, or you heard some walking, but then there was never any interaction. You would still be terrified and scared out of your mind if you just heard things in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact that um, I think what this did really good, and I think a lot of like older horror movies do it as well, is it really gets to the point.
Yes.
Like
They don't
it
fuck around,
doesn't
do they?
waste
Yeah.
time. Like they
No.
don't. It's, you know, it cuts straight to it. You start to
Texas
find out
Chainsaw
like,
Massacre is the same. It's pretty
yeah,
straight to the point. Yeah.
exactly. And that's probably the movie that I would probably compare
Hmm.
like most
Yeah.
to it. You know,
Yep.
I think there's a lot of similarities between the two.
Hmm.
Whether or not that's deliberate or not, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, Wes would know. But unfortunately, we can't get those answers from now.
No.
But exactly what you've said there is that both of those get straight to the point. They have very little setup. You don't really learn a whole bunch about the characters before shit starts kicking off.
You get enough that when stuff
Yeah,
is happening to them, you give a shit because what's
yeah.
happening to them is pretty horrific.
And you get an idea more so during as well. Like obviously, like with something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you get a
Hmm.
bit of the van ride. You can see, you know, what
Yeah.
people are into and a little bit of their demeanors and mannerisms.
Hmm.
So you get get that. But in this one, I feel like the movie kicked off a little bit quicker than Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in the way of, we were really sort of seeing people's personalities and how they handled the situations
Yeah.
as it comes, you know,
And it's
a big
authentic
issue.
too. How they
Yeah.
handle it is really authentic. It's not elevated. It's not over the top. These people are doing what real people would do. There's nothing that you see in their actions that you make you think maybe there's some slight differences that you could probably do,
Mm,
but they're doing what people would do when they're being attacked in their RV, or their baby has been stolen, or their budgie
mm.
just got its head bitten off. They're really authentic reactions, and there's that mixture of terror and fear, and I guess being that fear paralysis, and that kind of thing happens. So you don't react in certain ways because you just can't believe what you're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, there's the scene, and I can only imagine what it would have been like watching this, you know, a mere few years after Texas Chainsaw.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
would have been though, like how bleak it is, and spoiler alert for this next
Well,
part, but um I thought it was pretty expected that you would see that the parents would die, right? You know, like
yeah,
they would be the
yeah,
casualty. I was thinking, yeah, the boyfriend or like the husband, whatever it is, they'll knock that off. And I thought that basically maybe the siblings would be left, you know, just the siblings.
hmm
Um and then you get like the whole um the the Dee Wallace's character, like the mother of the
She
young.
goes way too quick.
Yeah, but how bleak that kill was, like, you know, like a
Yeah,
couple of shotgun
mm.
shots, you know, to just take her out. And a part of
Yeah,
me, like, I remember the first time that I watched it, a part of me was thinking, okay, like maybe because of the way that her body flopped after the second
mm.
shot,
Right.
maybe she sort of rolled and she's faking it, and it will be like a last minute thing that when, you know, one of the villains is going to, you know, do a death blow on someone,
Yeah.
she's faking it and she like stabs him or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know, but then it was like, no, like she's gone, like she's out, like
Again, it's like that first kill in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If people listen to that episode, how the kill is, that's why it's so confronting because it's just so nonchalant. It just
the knock on the
happens.
head. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, thunk on the head. Here, here's a victim. Clunk, thunk. There's no rigmarole. There's no cat and mouse. It's just that's what would happen, and that's what makes it scary. The authenticity is just like, she's in the way, shoot her in the guts, she's dead. And as a viewer, it does subvert your expectations when you've grown up on a certain type of horror where there is
hmm.
that elevation or there is that rigmarole around someone dying, there is the chase, and there's you know a fight, and it just it takes ages effectively. Where now this is just bang dead because that's how it happens. That's how it would happen. Just nothing to it. Like life is so cheap, life is so fragile and expendable, and that's what is so frightening about those type of deaths in these movies, which you don't get nowadays.
No. You know, and just the fact as well that um see what I always sort of understand is I go, I understand you'd be upset if a family member got killed in front of you. I got that. But at
Yeah.
what point though would the fear overtake and you go, you
Mm.
know what, as much as it would be great to be able to grieve now and all this sort of thing, we need
Mm.
to get on our feet and we got to move.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And we
Time to
kind
take
of get a
action.
little bit of that in this
Yeah.
movie, which
hmm
like it seemed a little bit realistic. They didn't have a whole lot of time to like you know, grieve or any of this. You know, they had to deal with like the mum as well. Like she got
Mm.
injured, and also they had the ability of sort of scaring the cannibals away for a little bit. So they had a little bit of time
Yep.
where they could do this sort of thing. Um, and I think that was important because in a life or death situation, I don't believe that you'd have the time to like cry over someone. If, you know,
No, it's snooze or lose. Snooze and
um,
lose. Yeah.
yeah, you can't like, you know, hold their body and cry and like
No.
the world stops while you do that. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't happen. As
It's that.
unfortunate as it would be, um, it doesn't happen.
It's fight or
Um,
flight, and
yeah.
yeah.
Um, and then I loved some of the kills in this
Kills are
movie.
good. Yeah, the kills are good.
Especially for like the age. Like I could
Mm.
only I wish that I could, you know, travel back in time and watch some of these movies like when they
Mm.
came out to
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
people's reactions just because
Yeah.
I think obviously we're probably like desensitized to things because we've seen things that are more abrupt and more, you know, gory and everything
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. And I go,
Yeah.
but back then they didn't, you know, they don't have the likes of Terrifier. You know, they don't have,
No.
you know,
Imagine if they did, and what horror would be like now, because that's the
yeah,
evolution.
yeah,
It's the evolution of horror. Like this is more authentic when then the 70s versus 80s horror. There's such a stark difference between
yeah,
80s slasher horror compared to 70s because Hollywood in general on any genre it runs on trend. So whatever they see succeed, they just keep pumping that stuff out. And something obviously came out in the 80s that was different to horror in the 70s, and they're like, oh, let's make more of these. Well, strangely enough, I think what changed it was Halloween. Um, that's what made it kickstarted that 80s style horror. Then 80s style horror turned into 90s style horror, where it was less that B horror gore. And then Thousands horror was just remakes, I think, pretty much. I don't know much about Thousands horror.
Yeah, I think I think you're definitely right that there's trends that occur like within decades.
Oh yeah.
And what you've said has probably hit the nail on the head, which is what Hollywood wants, Hollywood gets. And while
They'll
it's
tell us
making
what we
that,
like. We get no
yeah,
choice. They'll tell us, yeah.
and they will, flog that horse until it's dead.
Absolutely.
Once
Yeah.
it starts drooping, you won't have slashes. Like once people are going like, oh, I don't care, they'll move on to something else.
Yeah.
And then that will die off, and then they'll move on to something else. And then after a while, every few years, they try it again. They basically start the cycle again.
Well, nostalgia happens then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we get the remakes.
Yes.
And then, because you think about it, with something like Friday the 13th, we had enough sequels and everything
Yeah.
that we didn't need anymore.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were still coming out, early 2000s. And they didn't really wait too long before they did Freddy versus Jason. Like after it, like a franchise that had, I think it was like 10 or 11 movies in it.
Yeah. It's about as long as they wait to do new Batman or Spider-Man franchises.
Yeah.
It's like 5 minutes. Okay, new one. Let's start again.
Superman movies. There's a new Superman every 6 months. But yeah, so I think
that's licensing though too, because there's also statutes on those licensing of characters, and if they don't use it within a certain time frame, they lose it and someone else can buy it. So that's why they hang on to them.
But the things that I like most about the 77, sorry, Hills Have Eyes, Michael Berryman was amazing. So
who was he? Was he Bob?
So he was sorry, excuse me. So he played Pluto. So he's the big tall guy.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's very prominent on the cover as well, like of the movie, and you almost feel sorry for it. I know I did. Like there was things that I was like, oh, and then obviously he did some like other stuff where I'm like, okay, like maybe not. So really enjoyed that. I thought he was really good in it. Bobby's double denim outfit.
Yeah.
The jeans, the jacket.
It's the 70s, man.
I was like, this is 100% what we need. We need more horror movies with double denim. Like bring that back. So yeah, my final thoughts on 77 was Beauty and Beast is sick. I love what they did in the movie and how they sort of always stayed in it in one way, shape, or form. Like you'd hear like a howl and stuff that from Beast, and then also like the cannibals were always concerned about him, because they had the run-ins. So there was always, they didn't know where they were, or anything. So yeah, I think they were really cool. Double Denim was really cool. Michael Berryman was really cool. And probably my favorite death in it was, I loved Bob's burning.
Okay.
Yeah, so the dad, he gets burnt alive, and like they even show like how like he's just peeling, and they're pulling him off the like because he's nailed onto the thing.
Yeah, that's
like,
my biggest fear of how to die. Like be the worst way to die. Be burning alive would be the worst way you could die. It'd be insanely agonizing.
So I'd definitely like to know what people back in 1977 thought of scenes like that.
Yeah, you could probably go back and look at some old critic reviews of it. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, even back then, Roger Ebert would have been in his 50s.
I was a big fan of. I thought the makeup was actually quite good. There were some good practical effects. The one thing of note is that because I had seen the 2006 version before, and probably around 2008 was when I saw it the one and only time.
Hmm.
I wasn't expecting. I was expecting these people. Sorry. Okay, so the hill people were oddly normal, apart from being cannibals. I was expecting these inbred, deformed type of people. There wasn't a lot of that. They were just regular looking, I suppose. They were just survivalists and looking for some protein. I don't know how else to put that, but yeah, I don't really have many other thoughts than that. I'm just surprised that the villains were just basic cannibals and nothing more.
I like that. Like you're like, oh, just basic cannibals. Like that's not a horrific thought to deal with.
No,
You're stuck in the in the
man,
desert on your own, and go, glad they only eat human.
I've
Like,
been a horrific cannibal movie I watched recently is on Tubi. It's called Eaten Alive, a
yeah,
70s. Yeah, have you seen that?
yeah,
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 that was fucking horrific for me. Oh, that was gruesome.
yeah. Got to get you onto Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, it's actually on sale on Amazon at the moment. I nearly picked it up. It's like
Mm.
$42 or something.
Yeah, you'll only watch it the one time.
Okay, maybe I won't buy it then.
Um, Especially when you do a deep dive and read about the movie and
Oh,
everything. But that goes off topic here. Maybe we
yes,
need to do like a cannibal episode in the future where we can go through,
could do
you
that.
know, Cannibal Holocaust, Eaten Alive, Cannibal Ferox,
Mm.
any of those type movies, Burial Ground. There's a bunch. Um, but do you have any final things for this before we wrap up and
No, but it is a recommend. It's for me, it was a 3.5 star, which is a pretty good for one of these movies. Yeah, that's all I've got to say before we move on.
yeah, I'd say the same. I'm pretty sure I gave it 3.5 star. I liked it enough that
Hmm.
um, I like it when I don't feel like I've wasted my time watching a movie. And I definitely
Yeah, of
did in
course.
that,
Yeah.
and it maintained my attention the whole time, which is
Hmm.
always great. I love when that occurs as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. But I'll start the timer for 2006.
Let's do it. Um, I'm happy to take this one a little bit first because you went
Mm.
first the last one. I don't think we've ever discussed that type of thing before, but let's do it. This one, I actually, even though I rated this the same 3.5, I actually like this more than the remake. And
Okay. You
I
mean more
think,
than the original?
sorry, yeah, more than the original. Did I say more than the remake? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
you
like the
did.
remake more than the original, and that's not a common thing. But the reason why is because, as I said before, Wes also produced this, so I think he had quite a lot of say because um, this is a lot more polished. I think this kind of stinks isn't the right word, reeks isn't the right word, but it has all the hallmarks of a guy who directed this film and about 40 years later had a chance to make it. He's had 40 years to go and rewatch this film and know where he would have liked to have improved it. And he's done that under the guise of the producer of this because the character is a little bit more fleshed out. You do feel an increase in the budget. For me, it was creepier. It's more visceral. Um, it's a little bit more expanded on the world. There's these slight differences that these people turned into mutants because of atomic tests. I like those little touches, those little differences. There are very key points in this that do remain the same that obviously Wes was very happy with in the first film, and rightly so when you look at if you watch them side by side. Um, they are very similar in the plot points, in some of the devices and the settings, and the characters are obviously the same, and the kills can be the same as well, especially the ending kills. Yeah, the caravan invasion in both of these films is really great, and just depicts some horrendous depravity. Yeah, I've got some more notes, but I'll give you a turn.
Look, I think probably the most sadistic thing about this whole remake is the fact that they go and cast Buffalo Bill as
Yeah.
as the dad, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember the first time that I saw that, and it was like
Right.
that record drop moment of going like, whoop, and I was like,
Yeah.
you got to be kidding me! Like, is he
Yeah.
like telling his kids to put lotion on so they don't get sunburn or what?
What's the
Um,
lotion on its skin?
but I also took note, and I don't know necessarily, you know, how big certain people in this movie were at the
Yeah.
time, but I
Emily
mean,
DeRaven from Lost is about the
yeah.
biggest one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had also like Aaron Stanford, so he was like Pyro in like the X-Men movies as well.
Okay. Okay.
Which, you know, would have come out around that time. But I think realistically, outside of Buffalo Bill, I keep gonna say Buffalo Bob. But outside of that, I don't know how much people pay attention, but the biggest cast member is Greg Nicotero.
Is he in this?
Yeah, he
Is
plays
he one of the
Sith.
mutants?
Mm, yep.
Ah,
Um,
did not know that.
but I did not know that. Um,
Hmm.
but it was just more of a thing. I remember I didn't know much when this movie came out. I didn't know much about movies in general. Like I wasn't someone that
Okay.
followed directors, you know,
Right.
outside of I did with like Tarantino a little bit and like Robert
Yep. Yep.
Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, and that was as like an edgy kid going into like the later years of high school at that point, but still like not to
Ed.
the extent that I enjoy movies now. But
Hmm.
um it's got it's directed by
Alexandra Aya. Aha.
Aja,
Yeah.
yeah. Either way,
Hmm.
like we apologize, and please correct us. But
He did a remake of Piranha too, did he?
yeah, he did. And this is where
Wow.
like it becomes really, really um different for me. I think that he's almost the epitome of the term hit or miss.
Yeah. 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 I'm looking at his
Like
catalog, and yeah, it's.
you could almost split it down the middle of hits and misses, like, and it would
Hmm.
almost be like a split 50-50. Um,
So you're saying he's not a master of horror?
I am, yeah, for Uncle Wayno, if you're listening, this 50-50 ratio makes them not a master. But yeah, like
And that's
no,
fair.
you go into it, and granted, there's only so much that you can take from it as well, because not all of these movies are um, you know, 100% horror. Some of them are a bit more thriller, and such as well. But you know, you've got the likes of probably one of the worst horror movies to come out in 2024, which was Never Let Go.
Oh, that's good to know. I'll never have to watch that now that you've said that.
Yeah, literally, like, spoiler alert, that's just like people that hold on to rope when they go traveling in the woods and they let go of the
Ah,
rope. Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah.
And they can't find their way back. Is it
Yeah,
Hansel and
basically,
Gretel
like,
style?
pretty much. Like, the whole term of never let go, they let go and shit happens.
Okay.
So, and I, I didn't like that movie. And at first, I don't know what made me not look it up. Maybe I didn't see much about it. But when the credits rolled and I saw Arya, I'm going
Mm.
with that for it.
Ah,
Anyway,
yeah. Ah, yeah.
is like I saw that he directed it, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's it. Like, okay, like, and I was surprised, but because it's more, he's had success. Like, I didn't mind
Yeah.
Horns. Like, Horns
I
wasn't
haven't
bad.
seen Horns, I don't think. Speaking of Uncle Wayne, I picked up Horns and Crawl off one of
Yeah.
his whatnots. So I
Um.
have them to watch this Spooktober.
Yeah. So look, Horns is good, especially if you're like a fan of the book. The book is better.
Hmm.
Which is written by Joe Hill. Um.
Ah, Stephen King's son. I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Piranha was funny for what it was, but it's just, in all honesty, it, it is just a feast of flesh, really. Like scantily clad women,
Ah, yeah, yeah.
and piranhas, like very much very 2000y with that. Um, and then has done things obviously like you mentioned, Crawl. He's done Mirrors, but I deliberately left Best for last.
Mm.
Um, you know, did High Tension.
What's High
Um,
Tension?
so that's like one
That's
of
an
the
easy.
French
Ah,
extremity type
ah.
films that he directed. Um, and sort of it came out, around ish the time of like Martyrs and stuff like that. So, and I definitely recommend people check it out. But I'm sure anyone listening to this probably has seen it. But very much what I'm trying to say is hit and miss. I probably start cringing when I see his name attached, but I hope that I'm wrong when I see it. Um, but I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie just
Mm.
because I think they're loyal to the original
Quite a lot.
for a lot of it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they've made probably just the perfect amount of changes to make the story a bit of their own.
Yep.
And to put their own branding onto the movie. The casting, I was pretty happy with the casting.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't have
Casting's good. Yeah.
a whole lot of issues with it. The only problem, and there may be people that disagree with me, or there will be people that disagree with me, is that um, well, is that I don't think that it's a memorable horror movie.
Um, how so? Because I actually thought it was because I had remembered it for a while. I think. Okay, why is it? Why? What do you mean by that?
I just think that like it didn't. I don't believe it brought anything new to the table, which we of what we already had. In just horror in general, especially around that time as well. So not the
Okay.
fact that it's a remake, but just
Yeah.
more. It did, I think, and probably deliberately, it did fit in very snugly with what was coming out at the time.
Like the Wrong Turn type of
Yeah,
films.
like
Yeah.
those sort of
I
things.
I,
Like they're
I think Wrong
very.
Turn's a better film
Oh, I do
than
too.
this. Yeah.
And so I think there's quite a few movies that sort of have the ability to be compared to one another,
Yeah. Yep.
with, quite a lot of similarities between them,
Mm.
both stylistically, but also like plot wise as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in that instance, I just, what you've said is how I feel is that I would take something like Wrong Turn
Mm.
over this, you
Yeah.
know. And sure, everyone knows The Hills Have Eyes, and I'm sure, like, most people know that there's a remake, and most people are probably more aware of the
Mm.
remake. But this just really fits in with a lot of the same sort of styles that we see in, like, for instance, like The Devil's Rejects. As
I've not
far as
seen
like
that.
just the you've not
I've
you're
not seen.
sounding
I've
like
not seen.
Wayne.
But well, I am the
Yeah.
horror
Yeah, that
numpty.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But very like similar with a lot of the feelings in the movie. Um
Mm-hmm.
and for me, I think just the amount of movies that came out around that time that were similar just drowned it out a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Um
Fair enough.
but it
Okay.
is a movie that I see in store a lot. Like at JB, you could pretty much always find The Hills Have Eyes. Like I think like one
Yeah,
of
I've
the
got a
popular
two-pack of it.
releases. Yeah, I was gonna say is like there's a 2 pack of like the DVD, which seems to be like the most, at least in Australia, prominent release of it.
I got the Blu-ray twin pack. I think I might have picked it up from a
Yeah,
CEX or something actually.
yeah. But it's probably one of those movies that if you go to a like horror section of JB,
Mm.
it'll be there.
Yeah.
So it is probably a staple, but in my mind, I just go,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. I like it, like for what it is, but there's plenty of movies that came out around the same time that offered up more.
Gotcha.
So for me, it gets just a little bit like drowned out, beyond the noise. But yeah.
I mean, these. I've got well, not many notes, but back to a point you were making a while back. It feels to me that I don't know what that point is, but I have the note that married up to it. 77 feels more mysterious of a film.
Yeah.
Like it's a bit more what's happening here, especially at the start of that where they introduced the old guy at the I'll just say the servo. Um, he it's a bit more mysterious because they play it as like he knows something and is not telling them something. In this remake, it's a bit more on Front Street where he's saying you shouldn't have come out here. Basically, you won't. I don't know, like basically you won't survive or something. Um, that's why the '06 version's a bit more gnarly because a bit more the kills in this are very
Mm.
are much more gruesome, and that's again with that extra budget and I guess almost 30 years, not 40 years, almost 30 years of evolution of filmmaking as well. Where Wes got the kills that he probably couldn't do in 77, which why I guess you elevate the mystery of it rather than the kills of it. Um, I still thought the caravan invasion is great. It's great in both of them, equally great, but for different reasons, or even though they're filmed slightly differently. I did think, yeah, I did say that before they keep the same plot points. These guys are mutants. There's a really great shot in this one where their caravan or their RV is parked, and it's basically the crater of where they were testing the atomic bombs. I kind of like that touch.
Yeah, I think it's like what was said before. It's different enough to have its own spin
Hmm.
on as a remake, which is good. I think that you probably need to do that. It does have a lot of like the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes to it as well. I
Yeah,
get
yep.
with the grittiness, they obviously want to try and keep it gritty, and do that. It's a pretty dark movie. Obviously, um, some of the things that happen to characters in the movie happen,
Mm,
and are way more like controversial
yeah.
in this one. You know that and they sort of almost show more of these things, you know, like what happened um with like Brenda and such. And yeah, like it just comes down to um I like the mutant idea. I think that that's probably my favorite
Yeah, yeah,
change of it
yeah.
all.
Same, same.
um but you know, it is still a remake that holds true to the original. I probably I do rate them both the same, which is weird. I didn't do that on purpose. Um,
I did too. I did too. But I do
um,
like the remake a bit better.
I think that they both definitely have things that are pros and cons to them.
Hmm.
But I think I'm just more of a sucker that with older movies, when you see the way that they edit it and the capabilities of special effects and such,
Hmm.
um, it's kind of endearing. And I think that there's got to be a level of respect for that because of the effort that has to be put in for it to be as good as they try. They don't have computers that can just,
Yeah.
um, or they don't have AI actresses in it either. They can't do any of that. But no, I like that it manages to be bleak still. I was worried that
Yeah.
maybe they wouldn't make it as bleak, but it is. It's pretty up there with how bleak it all is. Um, but yeah, I don't have much more to say. It's not a bad
No.
movie.
Yeah, I again, I recommend it. But definitely get in tune for those 2000 those noughties era horrors. It's very much
Mm,
because you can tell it's actually one of those films that's filmed in 2K digital, like it's digitally filmed. I don't think it's a film. I don't think.
Yeah.
I could look that up, but I'm not going to right now. But it doesn't. It does feel a bit more. Like I said before, it does feel a bit more polished. But yeah, no, I've got nothing else to say. Um, yeah, I think we can probably, if you're happy, we can start wrapping it up if you want.
Yeah. I did see here, like, I just looked up a little bit to do with it, and it does say here, that was considered a remake after seeing the success of other horror remakes, such as
Yeah. Okay.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the Amityville Horror.
Yes.
So, had seen that and had gone, maybe it's time that we can do a remake.
Yep. So he had his chance to make it better, put the elements in he couldn't the first time.
Yeah. And obviously at that time he would have been heavily involved with, other projects, so he could at least go back to something that he probably does consider a bit of a passion project.
Yep.
And again, yeah, like make changes. I'm sure that there's a lot of filmmakers out there that would love that opportunity and go, if I could go back and do this,
Definitely. Definitely. Some would. Some
yeah,
wouldn't.
some would.
Just yeah.
Yeah,
Just on that, this remake had a budget of 15 million estimated, and it grossed just over 70 million worldwide, which is a pretty good return. That's a really good
Yeah.
return.
especially for horror.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually trying to find out what it was filmed on, but I can't see those notes on IMDb right now. Just not
Up your
happening.
game, IMDb.
Maybe I need to up my game. It's probably here. I just scrolled past it. I don't know. But we didn't mention Kathleen Quinlan in this either. Who Kathleen Quinlan is in? I know her best from Breakdown.
Yep.
She's the one that gets kidnapped from Kurt Russell in Breakdown. She's also in Apollo 13. She plays Lovell's wife. She's in The Doors and American Graffiti as well. So Kathleen Quinlan was yeah, she did a lot of work. So yeah, it was good to see her as well, actually. She's also in
Yeah.
Horns for that matter.
Horns. Yeah.
Yeah. The Alexandra Aha connection.
Yeah. And has also been,
Event Horizon. Yeah.
yeah,
She's in a lot.
I'm having a look through at the moment, like seeing what else. Okay, so there's a lot of hit and miss in there as well.
She's been in a lot though. She got a lot of credits.
Yeah.
And we're probably dragging this. American Graffiti was her first credit by the looks of it though. It's not a bad start. American Graffiti is a really good film.
That's true. And it does look like it's all downhill. No, I'm joking. But no, absolutely. I don't have much more to say on this one. I think both of the movies were good. And I enjoyed both of those. I think, yeah, I'd like the original more, but probably more so if I had to say the reasoning for it. I think the timing of the remake is what killed it for me. There was just there was enough of similarity, like enough movies that somewhat similar to that coming out around the same time that I was just like, I don't need another one. Had it have, let's say, come out maybe now or even like 10 years after that, when there was like a need for it, probably would have been different. Maybe, potentially. But
it's interesting take. But I get it, I understand it. Because it was a bit of a dark patch for horror movies.
But I was relatively young, so I would have been 15, 16 when that movie came out. So I didn't necessarily know about
when did you see it last? Do you know?
Probably would have been 5 odd years ago.
Okay.
And it's weird. I do own it, and I own it on a couple of different formats because either like I've won it on eBay cheap, or I saw it at like JB or a market or the Salvos. So like I've owned that. I just think that maybe potentially in Australia, I have a feeling that maybe that was one of the more heavily distributed movies and like or like produced enough of those. Like they just seem to be everywhere. And yeah, so I don't know if like what the point of that is, but
like you said, it's a staple. Yeah, the Blu-ray now is $20 at JB. So the 2-pack Blu-ray is on sale at JB right now. Everything's on sale at JB right now, but not by the time this episode drops. So on that, we'll begin to wrap up. Our next episode is going to be about the director, Ari Aster.
Thy actually works with Aster, I reckon. Thy director, Ari Aster. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Would work with Eggers too. They're very. I always mix their films up. I don't know why, because they kind of rose to prominence around the same time, and their films aren't. I don't know. They aren't the same, but they are the same. Like The Lighthouse, I think could be an Ari Aster film, where Midsummer could be an Eggers film. You know, but anyway, we'll talk about that when we talk about Ari Aster in future. Thanks for listening and tuning in. A shorter one for you, everyone, this time around, and yeah. It's the super fun Happy Horror Hour. Is a part of the SPDM crew network of podcasts, where you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. And please like and subscribe. That helps us out. And keep on listening. Tell your friends, tell your mates, share it on your socials, share it in your YMCA, wherever you listen to these things. Tell your friend, tell people, because they get beautiful eloquent speech like I'm delivering right now.
Pretty much how we have delivered this whole episode. I'm going like, basically the tagline for this movie, or like this episode, to cover both movies is they're good movies, but like, and it's just like, oh, there's reasons. It's like, but
I mean, yeah, you can caveat with that on almost every movie, to be honest.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you, and we will tune out right now. See us next time for Ari Aster. Everyone's an Ari Aster fan, and love you all. Goodbye.